Welcome to Business Connection. I'm Liz Spencer. We have wonderful guests in studio. It's Parag Bhosale. He's the lead attorney, and he's joined by N Fischer, who's a partner at Gardi and Haught Ltd. So welcome, you guys.
Thank you.
And tell me a little bit about all that you do there.
Well, we're a firm of 8 attorneys. We're based out of Schaumburg, and we practice in a variety of areas. We practice in commercial litigation, we do criminal law, family law, immigration. We also have an attorney that does corporate law, landlord tenant, and residential real estate, as well as personal injury, estate planning, and workers' compensation.
Well, you got just a little bit of everything that
we do.
That's awesome.
We do.
Now, you're here to talk to us a little bit about personal injury.
Yes.
Yes.
And workers' comp.
And workers' comp. Because
Right.
I often think as employees, and even as employers, we don't really know what to do when somebody gets injured.
Right. So in workers' compensation, obviously, is injuries that happen at work. You know, I get that question all the time. What do I need to do to make sure I've satisfied the requirements? The most important thing, obviously, is to report it. Seems like that's common sense, but
Right.
a lot of people make that mistake. And actually, under the Illinois law, if you don't report your accident within 45 days after it happening, you can lose your right to make the claim. So
Wow.
that's the most important thing. Make sure you report it somehow, either in writing, or text message, email, something that you can stand by and say, look, I did tell them about this accident.
And that's as the employee to tell the employer, hey, I hurt myself.
Exactly.
Right.
And again, you don't need to go into a lot of detail, but you want to be able to say, yeah, I told people about my injury happening. And then from there, the process starts with how you can pursue the remedies that workers' comp provides.
Well, I think often employees feel guilty about workman's comp because they feel like they're going to hurt the employer. They're taking money away from the bottom line. Thus, they're taking money out of their own pocket.
Right. Yeah. Then that's something I get all the time from my clients. You know, they like their employer. They like what they do.
Right.
They may be friends with their employer, and they're like, I don't want to hurt them in any way. And the important thing to realize is that in Illinois, every employer is required to carry workers' compensation insurance. So you're actually making the claim against the insurance that your employer has. A lot of times the employer is not even involved. The report goes to the insurance, and you deal with the insurance company from there on out. And you get the benefits out of the insurance company. The employer is really just there to make sure once you're ready to come back to work that your job's there.
Medical insurance, it should not be from my medical insurance that I get covered. The comp insurance should take care of that.
Right. So the 3 benefits you get paid 2/3 of your normal pay while you're off of work. The medical benefit under workers' compensation is you get to basically see any doctor you want. And you actually, in most situations, you get to get a second opinion if you're not happy with that doctor. But that insurance is the work comp insurance. It's not your health insurance. And a lot of people make that mistake. They'll go through their health insurance not knowing that they're not stuck in that network. Under work comp, you can go see the Bulls team doctor if you wanted to.
Excellent.
All right.
Well, that helps clarify a lot. I mean, because we all want to be good employees, and we don't want to hurt our employer because we all want to have a job ultimately.
Right.
And if we've done that well and we've accumulated, we've been there a little time, accumulated some wealth, we might want to go over and see Ann, who's going to talk to me about wills and estate planning. Because often we think, well, I don't have enough for a will.
Right. A lot of people tend to procrastinate when it comes to estate planning because it involves ultimately planning for your own death, which
yes. Never a happy topic.
Right. No one really wants to think about that. But it is. What's nice is once you have it done, you don't have to think about it anymore. There's a couple of reasons why I recommend that people do estate planning. They should plan for what would happen in the event of their death to their assets if their children are minors, because typically people don't want their 18-year-old child to have all of their assets. So that's a good way to take care of setting up trusts for the children, of what age assets get distributed. Also, I typically tell people that it's important to think about what would happen if you were incapacitated and were unable to make financial decisions for yourself and healthcare decisions for yourself, because when you're incapacitated, people don't want to have to think about how they're going to make sure that their parents' financials are taken care of. Right. It's best to have it all laid out in advance. And people will ask me if they should be setting up a will or if they should be setting up a trust. And there's a couple key differences. And the most important one is if you set up a trust, your assets pass to your heirs how you direct, which is similar to a will. Those will both do the same thing. But when you have a trust, it's passed privately, and your trustee, who's typically a sibling or a spouse or a child, they will be able to distribute the assets upon your death without having to go through probate court, which can be costly. It's public record, and then oftentimes if there's disgruntled family members, there could be a will contest. So there's a lot of issues that could arise when you have a will as opposed to having a trust. But in certain cases, a will would be sufficient for estate planning purposes. But one way or the other, I definitely recommend that people think about taking care of it sooner rather than later.
Right. Well, it is something that we procrastinate on, and we think that we can just maybe go online and download a form.
Right. And people often ask me, well, why can't I just download a will from the internet and fill it out? And the problem with that is there's statutory requirements that must be met, and if everything's not done exactly to the statute, then the whole will would be ineffective. So it's best to have a professional advise you on how to go about preparing those documents.
And you mentioned you had 8 attorneys, and you were kind of a one-stop shop. How does that benefit your client?
Well, when our thought process, and one of the things we really focus on at our firm is that when you hire us as a firm or hire me individually, you're hiring the firm for life.
Right.
Countless times I'll be meeting with a client, I'll be talking about a personal injury issue, and during the course of that I'll find out, okay, well, there's a family law question that they may have, or an issue that's going on in their lives. Or maybe they have a speeding ticket hearing that's coming up the next week. So I'll just walk them down the hall to one of the other attorneys. And that's nicer, instead of me having to give them a phone number of another attorney to talk to that I may have gone to law school with. This is somebody that I see and trust every day.
So thank you both for stopping by and sharing what you do and giving us some little tips of things we need to be thinking about. We appreciate it. We appreciate the knowledge and knowing that you guys have a whole team behind you. That's awesome, and we'll be right back with more Business Connections. Stay tuned.